Erik Spoelstra of the Miami Heat has agreed to an 8-year, $120 million extension. And how do I feel about this deal? Well, to be honest, I I originally did not respect Spoelstra when he first started out as a coach. Granted, he did have early success with the Miami Heat before they got LeBron, that they had made to the playoffs 2 years in a row. But I didn't really start to zero in on him as a coach until LeBron came to Miami, because Miami really wasn't worth watching prior to LeBron and post Shaq. When they got rid of Shaq, they were pretty much a mediocre team. So they were not really worth watching. But that's when I think I zeroed in. I would say a lot of people zeroed in on Spoelstra as a coach. The first year with the Heatles, I wasn't impressed by him. My nickname for him back then was Spo Stupid, and that's what I would call him, because I felt the moves he made were pretty stupid and questionable throughout that year. It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Even defensively, they were starting some center that I forget his name. He was a scrub. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but they started that guy, and he must have been like 6'8" or 6'9" at center, and he was complete trash. He sucked. So to me, that was just one of the weird moves Spoelstra had implemented that season. I forget his name. I wish I could pull it up right now. Let me try to find that guy. I'm just so curious now who that was. He started that year. Man, let me see. That guy was Joel Anthony. Yes, Joel Anthony. Yeah, Joel Anthony just was an odd selection by Spo to start that year, and I felt it really cost them against the Mavericks in the playoffs that year because he was so undersized. But even beyond that, just the Miami Heat that season didn't have a good offense. They didn't look fluid at all. They looked discombobulated. So I thought at the time, like, yeah, this guy is not a legit coach. He's like the equivalent of like a Del Harris, a guy that's good at building a team up, but is not good enough to win a championship. He's definitely not a Phil Jackson caliber coach, but he would win 2 titles with Miami back to back. He would lead them to 4 final appearances. I should say lead. LeBron led them, to be honest. But even after that, I still wasn't amazed by him. I didn't think he was a legit coach, but I think he's proven himself post LeBron with what Miami has done the last several years. That when you look at their record, let me just pull it up. His record as a coach. Just looking for it right now. So you pull up their record, and they've had a bunch of seasons where they have finished above 500 since LeBron left, which is pretty impressive when you look at it. Just and the few years where they didn't finish above 500, they weren't that many games below 500. The first year without LeBron, they were 37-45. That's not bad when you consider what happened with Chris Bosh that season, and they lost into blood clots. Then they had a season going to 2018, 2019 where they were 39-43. Still not really bad. They barely were off for being a 500 team. And then in the 2021 season, they finished 40-32. Actually, they were above 500. I forgot that year was the year where they played 70-some games instead of 80 games. So pretty good. So all in all, he's only had one season where he finished below 500 post LeBron. So that's very impressive. So I'll give him credit on that. I think the thing that also stands out to me about him is that his system continues to work, and it's good when it comes to the players that they select to develop, that they're guys that come out of nowhere. They're very good role players, solid players that he's good at developing, like Strus from last year. And I'm trying to think the other guy. My memory's slipping. There's that guy, Vincent Gable. Just that guy was very solid in their system last year. And those are 2 guys that you never really expected would be legit NBA players, but they were in his system. So I give him credit. He's also had other solid players like Caleb Martin that you just don't expect them to be anything productive or legit players. So I think that's his strength. He's able to get guys to maximize their abilities in his system. So I give him credit. But with that being said, I feel a great coach, even at his best, can only influence around like 5% of the game. I feel 95% of the game is players. They influence the results. So that's the way I look at it. The only reason I bring this up because I think Pat Riley is really important to the Miami Heat's success as their GM. He's always been good at selecting players, putting together the right rosters for Spo to be able to capitalize off of that. Not taking anything from Spo, but just showing the importance of having a great GM. And I think going forward, you wonder how long can Miami sustain their success, especially with Riley getting up there in age, that once he eventually steps down, like will they still be able to be successful even though with Spo as their coach if the new GM is not as competent as Riley in finding gems, finding good players to put together? I think that's a big question mark to look at their situation going forward is just Riley, because I think GMs really make a coach more so than a coach makes a player or a GM. That's one thing to keep in note. The other thing I feel with these long-term deals, I think as a coach, you can get complacent. You could develop some hubris and you get too comfortable, which I know I sound cruel, but I never like a coach to get really too comfortable with their job, because once you get too comfortable and you're not in the hot seat, you become you become stagnant. And I think the game can pass you because you don't have that desperation or fire to go all out to take risks. I think that's the worst thing about stability. As weird as it sounds, it limits your risk taking because you don't feel like you have to take big risks. So that's the biggest negativity I see about giving a long-term deal to any type of coach. It eliminates that. Now, with that being said, I feel coaches are definitely starting to get overpaid these days. To me, it's insane when you look at some of these deals. You look at Spo's 8-year, $120 million deal. You look at Popovich's 4-year, $76 million deal. And you look at Monty Williams' deal, which was $80 million. I don't know how many years, but man, it's pretty insane, and it's not going to stop now. Like I could see in the future a coach getting something like a $200 million deal, but I guess this is like the new NBA that now coaches are starting to get like max like deals, which is pretty funny, but also I think it makes it hard to get rid of them, because if you give a guy that much money, granted it doesn't count against your cap, but how many owners are going to be willing to buy out a coach that they've overpaid that much? Just so I think that's an interesting thing to keep perspective of. I don't have anything else to say, but that's about it.